guess I'm ready.
A second review of Psychonauts 2.
All right, you guys ready? Jerry, you ready? You're on your phone? Okay, it's fine.
I'm looking up the games.
It's fine. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Did I Save? A gaming podcast where we talk about how games change and how they change us.
Nailed it.
It's been a minute.
Best take.
So it's hard to remember the exact lines.
You can really, the enthusiasm comes through when you're looking up at the ceiling to figure out.
I'm actually reading it, okay?
He's looking
We have a
Give me a
banner.
second.
We have a banner over here.
looking into your brain.
So today we're going to talk about game mechanics.
Oh.
Our favorite game mechanics. Like if the new game is coming out and it says it's got this, or this, and you're like, dang, I love that. Let's check it out. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
What do you see in a trailer that you're like, ooh, I love that?
I love that. Yeah.
And we're going to do a little bit of a different format today. I think we're not really doing a list. We're trying to lean more into having conversations about these kinds of things. And we're just going to riff. We're going to riff bits
Riffing and raffing.
today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no raffing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We said no raffing before you started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talon, don't do this
I wasn't
again.
a part of that
Yeah,
conversation.
Jared, the person on my right, talking to Talon, the person on my left.
Sorry, Ryan Parker, person on my left.
Nice. Okay. So...
You're in charge, bro. You can't
Go, dude.
Look at me.
Go, bro.
Oh, man,
guess
I was
Jared, go.
sweating bullets
Okay,
because I thought I was going to be first.
What's a game mechanic that you like?
You know what? I was talking to my partner last night about this exact category, and I was like, what should we talk about?
I mean, also note that he says last night and not a few days ago. He's really
It's always
scrambling
last
here.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always last night.
You guys do work before the night of? Bro, on my way here, I'm like Googling stuff. No,
What do I say? Yeah.
But I was like, when you're talking about mechanics, you get pretty broad, and I'm at that point still trying to figure out like how specific do I even want to be. And she was like, well, one thing I really like is like deck builders where you can swap out one or two cards and it makes a huge difference in how your deck plays. And I was like, that concept of iteration of like, it's one reason I love tower defense games, because I love games that let me tinker with this constructed element of the game in little ways and see how it impacts everything else. Like with tower defense games, you might move one tower from one part of the lane to another, and it makes a huge difference.
You don't
in how
even
well it
understand why it
performs.
made that difference.
Well, that's the fun, is trying to understand, because then once you understand why that happened, you can be like, okay, so there's like a layer of this game that I hadn't fully understood, and now I can kind of like take advantage of that knowledge in a different way. And I love when games let you iterate on your approach in an easy way. Like lots of games will let you do that, but I like when games want you to like tinker with it. Games like Inscription, where it like expects you to constantly be swapping stuff in and out and see how that helps or hurts you or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I love when games encourage you to just reiterate elements of your play style and just see what happens.
No,
I think that's
a
so
really good one. Yeah.
fun and interesting.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh! On the PS2.
So who's next?
Now, do you feel the same way about that as you do about like swapping out characters in like an RPG or something? Or
Yes. So I think one of the more detailed examples I would have is Dislight, which is a game I've talked about on here.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that it is so compelling to me is I will find character lineups. And when you play the game as long as I have, there's not a ton of new content to do. You're kind of doing events and stuff. But one thing I love is taking characters and being like, okay, I'm going to make a poison team. Yeah. Everybody on my team is going to deal poison damage. How can I do that as efficiently as possible?
Right.
And just coming up with new ideas and trying to piece together from what I have something unique that I hadn't thought of before. It's like taking a Lego set apart after you build what's in the instructions and then doing something totally different with it.
It's a good analogy. I like that.
I love doing that.
It's like games that like, here's your goal and here's your tools.
Yeah.
How do you get to that goal?
Banjo
Yeah.
nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Let me make a plane out of this jeep
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Tree.
Yeah, out of this tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
It just it adds to the replayability of games so much for me. And
Right.
I think
Yeah.
it really,
absolutely. Rather than getting a costume at the end of the game.
yes.
Like, wow, what costume can I get next after this
Cool.
30-hour journey?
Yeah. Or even like leveling up characters and stuff like that. Like, of course, who doesn't love a good RPG? But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I like my effort to pay off in creative ways.
Right,
And I
yeah.
like feeling like I came up with a solution.
Yeah.
I didn't figure out what the game wanted me to do. I took the tools that the game gave me and I figured out my own solution for it.
Right.
And I just think that's always super compelling for me when
Yeah.
they do it
yeah,
right.
same.
Cool.
When they make it easy to do that.
Same.
Right. Yeah.
Inscription's like kind of the perfect example
Yeah.
of that. Is there another game you could think of that's like a
Dislike?
dislike besides
Banjo
Dislike?
Nuts and Bolts?
Banjo Nuts and Bolts?
Um,
Those are good ones.
there is one that I'm thinking of, but it's my next mechanic. So
True.
we'll loop back around
Okay.
for that one.
You want me to go next?
Sure, man, do it.
Okay.
The host
Ryan,
never
go.
goes second.
You know,
Yeah.
when I think of video games and I think of like what I want a video game to be, there's a thing I miss about video games, and that is couch co-op.
That's a good
true.
one.
When a
Yeah.
game comes out and it says it has couch co-op, I'm like,
I'm down.
let me look at this game.
Oh, yeah. Let me take a peek at this game.
When the Goose, when the Untitled Goose game had couch co-op, I was like, oh, man,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a studio that made those two couch co-op games. One is
Come on. It Takes Two.
It Takes Two, and
That
then
was
there's
the
the
first
prison.
game that
and then
popped
A
in my
Way
head.
Out.
Yeah,
Oh,
A Way Out.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember
those,
what the team is
yeah,
called, but
it's just
yeah.
like
They made Brothers, right?
What's it look it up?
We'll find out in the comments.
Indeed.
But yeah, like back in Xbox 360 days, it was just like the couch co-op king of consoles.
Yeah.
You got
The
Gears of-
alliteration on that was immaculate.
The couch co-op king of consoles. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which wasn't on purpose.
Yeah. You mean it was completely on purpose?
Yeah. I didn't even
I didn't even know. That's right.
Whoops. Guess I'm just super
Oopsie.
talented
Yeah.
and smart.
Lucky.
You're a poet.
The couch co-opness of the 360 days.
Yeah. Definitely helped its sales for
Yeah,
sure.
Gears of War was just so fun to play with with a friend, and then they came out with Army of Two. I don't know what studio made that game.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was like just good couch co-op.
Army of Two.
Yeah.
That's a game I haven't thought about in a minute.
There was what's that game where it's like you control your sword with the right stick?
Two Worlds.
Huh?
Two Worlds. I don't
No.
think it had couch co-op.
No, the second one did have at least
Two
multiplayer.
Worlds?
You had
Two Worlds, two.
Two Human.
Two Human is the game.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two
So you
Human.
could, yeah, you controlled the
The space RPG?
Yes.
the right.
That was fun with a friend.
That would be the only game you
got,
got.
like-
You can only it's only playable with a friend.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
go like,
yes.
Yeah.
Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, Ultimate Alliance is
Man,
awesome.
there's just so many. But
Lost
like,
Planet.
Yeah. Is Lost Planet
Lost
split
Planet
screen?
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, it doesn't have to be split screen or couch co-op.
Right,
If it has
yeah.
like a campaign that's co-op, where
Yeah.
you're like on an adventure with a friend and
Yeah.
you're having to tackle problems together.
Yeah.
And it's like
Perfect,
different when you play with a different friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
Mario
Yeah.
when they keep
Gears,
going
man.
ahead of you and you die.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Love that.
That's my favorite.
which Mario is that? That's
All
the,
of them.
All of them. Yeah.
The new one puts you in a bubble and you just like
That's
float.
what I was thinking of.
Float.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I like
It's
that
a
lot.
dying breed, I think,
Indeed,
for sure.
yeah,
But
for sure.
it's so fun whenever you find that.
Yeah.
Like Stardew Valley added co-op, and I think that is
Yeah.
such a game changer.
It was a huge breath of life into that game, and like games like Goat Simulator, they're almost no fun by yourself. But
You have to at least have an audience.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that game is so funny when you see
Yeah.
other people doing stuff that's just so unexpected. Like
Yeah.
it's always hilarious.
It's fun to be in that vast open world
But
with
that's-
somebody, and you just see explosions in the background, and you know it's your buddy just causing chaos.
That's one thing, like when we come over for events or whatever, Natalie and I, like one of the things that we pretty much always default to is like playing Gang Beasts or
Yes. Yeah.
Boomerang Fu.
I'm gonna
or
play
Smash
Gang Beasts by
Brothers.
myself.
Like
Yeah.
some of those they're not like couch co-op, but they have such a reminiscent feel of what it felt like in the early days, like 360 era, to play couch co-op, because like Castle Crashers and stuff like that is like games that really rely on the dynamic between the two people that is happening to play the game. Castle Crashers is not very fun by yourself, but it is hilarious with at least one other person. It's just such a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm not talking about games like Call of Duty or even Halo, which I like, but like where it's just like a multiplayer. But Halo does have the co-op campaign, and I am talking about that.
Yeah.
Which I don't think came out for like 2 years after, like in Infinite. The couch co-op didn't get added until much, much later. So I never got a chance to play it.
In 2 and 3, you can split screen.
Yeah, and that's like I've been.
And can you split screen in 1 on the original Xbox?
I think you can.
I never played Halo.
I'm
1.
almost.
I didn't play it on the original Xbox. I played it on PC.
Yeah, you can, because I remember Commander Keys. The two of us just meleeing Commander Keys in the first level.
Okay.
But yeah, I like multiplayer is a very different animal than this, and I know that a lot of the games I've mentioned are multiplayer, but it's really about the spirit of the gameplay. You know what I mean? Like a lot of games, couch co-op by definition is a game that you can play by yourself, or you can get another person to play it with you.
Yeah.
So there are just a lot of games that really do a great job of capturing what that feeling is, and there are a few things more fun than just like sitting down with your partner or your friends or whatever and just like making an experience that much more like it's much more memorable just in general.
Yeah,
I think.
agree.
Just
yeah.
I'm just sitting over here in my head reminiscing about it. So I'm just gonna keep rambling about how cool it is when people do co-op games and hope that someone cares.
Yep.
Listen to us.
It's
make
good
more
stuff.
couch co-op.
Yes.
Well, like couch co-op, kind of there was like a period where it's just like you never saw any game come out with any sort of local multiplayer.
Yep.
And now it's kind of making a
It is kind of making
bit
its
just
way.
because people have said, "Hey, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, why aren't these games coming out?" But and it's more you're seeing more like party games like Boomerang Fu, Smash Brothers, Gang Beast, which is fantastic and stupid.
It's actually absolutely abysmal and terrible, but it's
I've
hilarious.
almost died literally from Gang Beast from laughing too hard.
No, it's the funniest bad game I've ever played.
Yeah,
I mean, by design, that game is meant to
People
be bad.
I'll
So.
introduce that game to somebody and like, what are the controls? I'm like, if I tell you the controls, it's gonna be so much.
Dude,
less
you're
funny.
skipping the whole journey.
You've got to figure this out by yourself.
Yeah.
And even when you think you understand the controls, you don't.
That's the thing is, I was like, dude,
Because it won't do anything.
forget
until-
this. And
until
I
it does.
googled Gang Beast controls, and then I'm like trying to use them. I'm like, no, it's not. This doesn't do that.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome choice. I
Yeah.
love that.
Great choice. I love that.
Yeah. But I'm done talking about this.
Never want to talk about couch co-op again.
That's right. Mine's a little bit simpler. It's just slow motion.
Slow motion.
Oh, you're
I
just a
love
huge Max Payne
like
fan.
Children of the Sun or Sniper Elite.
Yes.
Oh, Sniper Elite.
Satisfying.
That's the best part of Sniper
every
Elite.
single
Or
time.
Fallout when you go into
I'm like, I shot
bats.
this one dude in the head from 25,000 yards away. I'm going to shoot this other guy in the head,
so
and
many
it's going to be
yards.
still just as good. Yeah. I
So,
love it.
is there a specific example of slow mo that you really like?
Man, I just love slow motion.
Because there's so many different, like, I feel like it gets implemented in so many different ways. You have like, if
I'm
you're
actually
going-
not a big fan of the way that Zelda does it, where you just jump and then you go in slow motion. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. I like the Max Payne one.
Yeah.
Jumping through like some glass
where you're
while
like
shooting some
avoiding
baddies
bullets and stuff
like
yeah.
that.
And it's more
that.
prolonged. Like Zelda, slow mo is a reward for dodging at just the right time.
Yeah.
Max Payne, it's a whole mechanic.
Well, I just mean
unto
the
itself.
when you jump specifically in Zelda and just
Oh, how?
like if you just jump off a rock,
Yeah.
and then you go to pull your bow out and it does slow motion.
Yeah.
I like the jumping one where you time your dodge. That feels like a reward.
Yeah.
Whereas,
But Max Payne is like you press a button and now time is slow.
yeah,
So
I do like that. I think it's interesting. I actually really like it in Assassin's Creed Origins where you control the arrow.
Yeah.
yeah, that seems.
I'm like,
cool.
that's cool. I like that because then you can just basically like perch on a ledge, and you got all these baddies in here. You're trying to figure out how to do it. I'm just gonna slow motion arrow them on. Yeah,
Makes no
sense at all.
No.
But it looks amazing.
I'm just
I
really
love
good
it.
with a bow.
It's satisfying.
You wouldn't understand.
Oh yeah.
It's like Wanted,
You'll
but with
know
a
we were.
bow.
It's because I slung the bow really fast. That I can now make
Yeah,
it go
I-
left or right, however which way I want.
right.
Have you ever swung a pistol so hard that the bullet curved? No, you haven't.
But I love that, man. Going through like an enemy's legs, and then you coming up, and you just like get this guy in the
Especially a game like
nose,
Sniper
man.
Elite, where it is like designed for you to solve puzzles with the knowledge that like, okay, I'm gonna go in slow motion. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind
Yes.
of maneuver my way a
Yeah.
little bit. It gives you a little bit of leeway, and I love slow motion as well.
Yeah.
But so, what about? I don't know if this is gonna mean anything.
Feels
to you, but,
satisfying.
like, what about a game like Blinks the Time Sweeper, where you're like,
I have never played it, so
Okay.
I've never played it either.
I know it
I know what
exists,
you're
but-
talking about.
well, it's basically a puzzle solver, but you basically you can reverse time, you can stop time, you can slow it down, so you can do
Okay, so-
all these different elements.
Braid.
Yeah,
I do not like
There's
okay.
the Prince of Persia game too.
Sands of Time. Yeah. I like
It's
that
actually
game.
the only one I've played in the
yeah,
series.
I like the game, but I think the mechanic was.
yeah.
I did, for what it's worth, I played it forever ago.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the reversal of time.
So you like slowing down time, but how do you feel about like stopping and reversing time as a mechanic? Is that also something that grabs your attention?
Something like Super Hot.
Sure. Yeah, Super Hot's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Man,
Yeah.
super hot.
Super
See?
hot.
How was that
fun.
not the first example that popped in my head?
That's fun.
Have you played it
That's
in
why I think
VR?
that's no.
Oh, dude, I've
Yeah.
only played it in VR.
I've only played it in
what?
VR.
I've
I've
never
only
played
played-
it
Wow.
on, just on
Sounds
console.
incredible.
If you come over, we'll let you
Yeah,
play it.
okay. It
and
sounds
it's
awesome.
It's unreal, and it is such an incredible workout.
Okay.
You will be sore all over. But they're like, it's
Sounds
so funny
incredible.
because it's like you're saying like time is slowing down when
But it's
you
also
move.
speeding up.
So
But it's-
yeah,
yeah,
and
right.
it's also speeding up.
Yeah.
So it's like you'll be shooting at somebody, and then you'll be out of ammo, and so you'll like freeze to like figure out, and then you'll like.
Yeah.
To throw the gun, and then you'll like dive physically on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm like reaching around the counter to try and get the gun because I don't
Yeah.
want to like put myself out there.
Right.
So you're such a like the experience is just night and day different
Yes.
when you're like physically like I gotta get this gun, but I can't get out
Yeah.
where they can see me.
And
Yeah.
it's funny, like, you think you'll move really fast to, like, do something really quick, but the faster you move, the faster they move.
Right.
So,
So
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
I'll move really fast and punch this guy, and he's like, no. Like as soon as you start to move, he's like, I was closer.
Yeah.
Just like-
yeah.
pull the trigger, and then stay calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such
Think
a
of
more
your next
measured
move.
experience.
Like, you'll see
Yeah.
the bullet come out of the gun, and just you could still stop right there and think about your next move.
Right, yeah.
And then, like, even mid bullet trail, you can keep
Right.
thinking about your next move. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that game is the slow
epitome
down
of it.
time
Yes.
VR experience.
It was my
Like,
first, like, VR experience. And I was like, okay, VR is actually amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's very very cool. Yeah.
So more specifically like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I like that.
So, but if a game is like, I got slow motion, I'm like, cool. I'm gonna check it out.
Cool. Show
Yeah.
me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. I guess what's my next one? I think my next one, I might be stealing this from you, and if I am, I'm sorry. But I love, more specifically, restoring things.
Okay.
I love taking things that are old and broken down and making them new again.
Okay.
And a great example of this for me is Dragon Age, the last Dragon Age game.
Okay. Inquisition.
Inquisition. You find this old abandoned castle, and basically it's huge, like it's a whole fortress or whatever. But as you go through the game, you'll recruit new people who will go and stay there, and they'll like sell you items or whatever. But as you're going, so there, it's literally a ruin, and you can go out into the world and collect resources and whatever. And when you bring them back and exchange them to people, it'll do like this time lapse of like time being sped up,
Okay.
where they're like refilling in the walls, and like now this room is usable again. And then like your throne room or whatever, you can completely upgrade all these different components of it, where you're like adding flags at the windows and upgrading your throne and adding floors and tables with food on them and all this stuff. So it goes from literally just being like this hollowed out ruin to like this big opulent throne room with all these people and really cool stuff. And that process of like taking something that's been broken down and restoring it is so satisfying to me.
Okay.
Any game that it's kind of base building, which is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But base building can mean a lot of different things.
Right.
And I specifically like restoring things.
Okay.
There's a mobile game. I can't remember the name of it. Natalie's going to be so mad at me for not mentioning it by name. But you are like a repair person, and you just go, you're like a traveling repair person. And it's on mobile, so you like, it's like a lot of like touch controls and stuff. But it's like, you find this kid and they have an old radio that their dad gave them and it's broken.
Okay.
And the game is like you're taking it apart piece by piece and trying to figure out why it's not working. And it's so cool to like, you know, you're taking the back off of it and you're setting the screws aside and you're like removing bit by bit and then like welding stuff together or taping it or whatever. And that process of like understanding something and then seeing it brought back to its like original condition never gets old.
Well, base building is on my list. That's what I was going to talk about next.
Okay.
But it's not. I don't really enjoy the restorative side of that.
Yeah.
Because it's always like there's a thing over in the corner and it's broken down and you're going to restore that and that's where it's going to be. It's going to be polished now and you can upgrade it to add like a new bench next to it or something. But I like just having it from scratch.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
building from scratch. And I think that just comes from playing with Legos as a kid and having your imagination sparked and like what you can do. Because like we hardly ever built Lego sets. We always had like just a bunch of Legos in a drawer and we just build whatever we want. And nothing looked fantastic. Very colorful.
Yeah.
When we had to use red bricks because we were out of yellow. But like Fallout 4 has like super satisfying like base building, but it just like never connected with the actual gameplay, the rest of the gameplay of the game. But like being able to wire everything, build generators and like run wires, and you can hook computers up next to doors or turrets or cameras, and you can like program how those things operate. You can have people come into this base and you can assign them to jobs, and you can find new things to research, to unlock new blueprints, and you can change things aesthetically like wallpaper and the outside of the walls. You can use different materials, foundations. You can have multi-tiered levels to your bases. All those things I love. And when I see a new game that says it has base building, I immediately dive into like, well, what's the developer's direction on this? Like what's their goal with this? How does it integrate into the rest of the game?
Right.
Is it just like, we just wanted to have base building? I'm like, play The Sims, I guess.
Added it at the last minute.
Yeah. So, and other games too, but like Minecraft is a great example of like where the world building is integrated into the gameplay.
Yeah. It basically is the gameplay at a certain point.
Yeah. There's a lot of open world survival games like Ark and Enshrouded, which we did that whole episode on about survival games, where if I see a survival game, you pretty much know it's going to have base building and how do they tackle it. But just allowing a ton of creative freedom is how I want it to be, while also having utility.
Yeah.
But that's my draw. And that's one of the mechanics I definitely look at.
Yeah.
But it's not always great.
Yeah.
It's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Either nailed it or not.
It's really a shame that like that's one of the things that I like about Dragon Age in particular is like the more you build up your base, it's like increasing your strength as an army, because the whole point is you're trying to build an army of people to fight back.
I've never played.
So
I've only played the first Dragon Age.
I've put about 30 hours into that game and had my save got wiped somehow. Like what it was is I was playing it on console, and then I had to leave my console in Germany when we moved back, so I didn't have that save anymore. And then I got it on PC and put another 30 hours into it and got almost to the exact same point that I was in, because I was like trying to do everything in the starting area before I moved on.
Yeah.
And then I had some weird sync issue with my save on Steam
yeah.
where it had to pick between two saves. And I know I picked the one that was most recent, but when I loaded it, I had only played like 45 minutes.
Oof.
So I was like, I'm not doing a 30-hour playthrough again.
Yeah, that happened to me with Darksiders 2.
That's the reason I haven't finished that game, because I was playing that game ravenously when I played it. Like, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I like when it leans back into the gameplay side of things, even if it's just supplementary, where it's like, you could beat it without this, but this will make things easier for you. So when you're talking about games like Fallout 4 that have really cool base building without an incentive to actually build a cool base, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's just
So what? I know you said like restorative stuff. Is that why you like car games a lot? I guess you don't
I
like
think
really
that's
restore them. You just kind
Well,
of.
but you are.
That's
But it is
not-
a similar. It's scratching a similar itch.
Okay.
Of like, I want to upgrade this car and make it what I want it to be.
Yeah.
Like I like that
It's a customization.
That ability to approach a problem the way I want to do.
Do you
it.
watch the YouTube videos where people take old artifacts and restore
you know
them?
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
There's a particular channel where a guy takes like he collects lighters from all over the
Oh
world and
yeah,
restores
I've
them.
seen that. Yeah.
That's very cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to
Satisfying.
see.
Or where they polish rocks and stuff or open them.
Yeah.
I do watch that kind of stuff, but not nearly as much as like the mechanical restoration stuff. I
Yeah.
love that.
I do love that.
But yeah, I didn't mean to step back into mine from yours, but I was just saying,
No, well, they're very
I get
similar.
what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I just wanted it to be like a one discussion,
And synergy.
and then we'll move on to tables.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Like
Yeah.
we
So
hit ours.
so anyway, Talon,
that's good.
we'll get to you eventually. So what are you playing right now?
Brutal.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's actually frustrating because I don't have a game where I'm like,
This is the game.
Yeah, this is the base building game for me. And I don't
What
know if
about-
it's just that I haven't found it. But
What about V Rising?
V Rising is pretty good.
close.
Or the last spell is
And-
that like
The last spell.
where does that fall for you? Because that's a very temporary kind of base building.
Yeah, it doesn't hit for me. Like
Okay.
it's nice and that it's designed well for the gameplay, it very much so. But it doesn't hit that base building
Yeah.
itch like I would.
It's not really trying to.
Yeah,
I would guess.
No.
Like,
They achieved what they were trying to do, and they did it very well. But you the buildings when you spawn in a town on the last spell, the buildings are there, and you actually just destroy them, and you'll get resources. They're like broken down buildings you can't use. You get those resources, and then you can like build buildings wherever you want in your little space, and then you can build like temporary walls that get knocked down very quickly. You can build turrets, and they'll get knocked down too. But
yeah, that's really cool.
so that I like, like the permanent, like
Yeah.
this is.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
76 Fallout 76 actually does a much better job because you can build those camps wherever you want, and then you can like set. That's actually like your fast travel point. You can make that a free fast travel point versus your other ones that cost money. But it's, for me, for some reason, 76 is more satisfying to build because it's an MMO, and I think the multiplayer is what makes it better because you can see other people's bases and just walk into them and see what they've done.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
cool.
That is
Versus
cool.
versus Fallout 4, you gotta like bring a friend over and show them your stuff, and your friend definitely
check
doesn't
out my
want to do
base,
that.
bro.
Yeah.
Your friend definitely doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, your friend.
I would
does
do
not
that
care.
for you.
There are
But you don't want to.
Okay.
there's there's an MMO called Paldea or something.
Power
like that.
World.
It's not Power World. Where you build a house. Like the whole thing is you get a plot of land, and it's kind of like a 3D, like if Pixar made Stardew Valley is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, I know what game you're talking about.
And I played that game for quite a bit because I loved just like arranging little like making it look like a scene. Like I think part of it comes from dioramas. Like as a kid, I just loved dioramas.
Yeah.
And so I love to see like this small version of a thing with all these little details in it. I've always thought that's super
the
fascinating.
more detail you can fit into something small, the better. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Tilt shift, everything. I love videos where they just do a tilt shift recording of real life.
Yeah.
Makes it look like a little diorama.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But yeah, that game lets you travel to other people's like plots of land and see how they decorate stuff. And that's one of the few games where I've ever been like, I'm actually going to go look and see what other people are doing because I think that's really interesting. But like for you, does a game like, I'm assuming no, but a game like The Sims where it's not really base building, but the function is to build a home.
Right. I'm good at like building things for like a functionality reason or like the flow of a building. But like fashion wise, I'm not so great. And that's more like what The Sims is like making things aesthetically pleasing.
For me, it's efficiency as well because
it is.
I've turned on cheat codes and just built a gigantic house before,
which is how I would play
it's not, if you don't think about how you're designing the house, it's not going to be very fun because you're like, dude, it's just a bunch of empty space because I have no idea how to use this. Which could be partially a design limitation from The Sims because there's some features of a house that you just can't build in The Sims. But the modding community has done a ton to help out with that. Yeah, right. But I was just curious because for me, The Sims definitely hits. Like I love going and build, like my sim lives a life so that I can make a cooler house for them. It's not the other way around. I think most people are like, it's about the narrative of their character growing and blah,
probably
blah, blah.
The most fun I've had base building is actually modding Fallout 4 so that you can build bases anywhere. So you can just find a cool spot and you throw like a workbench down like a Pokeball. And that spawns an area where you can build. And then you play in survival mode so you actually can't fast travel. And then that way you have these points in the map that you've created strategically for like safe zones. And you can barricade them up and you have like another mod that actually like enemies just like spawn on the map randomly. So it's not like your base is ever safe. Like you'll have a horde of zombies that are traveling and your base will like take them out by itself or whatever. So
I see.
That stuff's cool, but there's not that, that's heavily modding a game to make it fit what I'm looking for.
But I think that's a pretty important part of the conversation because it kind of gives insight into what it is about this feature that you find so compelling. And there's lots of little variations. I think like one element of it that we haven't necessarily touched on is in games like XCOM where you're building a base. But for me, a huge part of the drive for that is like, I want to build a laboratory so that I can start upgrading my weapons. And then I want to do research in that laboratory and I get to pick what the next new piece of technology will be. And all of that to me is kind of wrapped tangentially back into base building because narratively that's how it's supposed to function. It's like you need to build this new room so that you can do this new thing. And I love when games do that too, which is I guess partially how Dragon Age works. But I like when games are able to be really seamless in the way that they integrate base building instead of making it like Fallout 4 where it's like you guys said you wanted this? Is this it? Is this what you're looking for?
You need 6 pets?
Oh, you don't like this? We'll make an MMO where you can do it better. Sorry. I don't know. Sorry.
And we'll spend 6 years fixing it.
So true.
True that.
So true. True dat, bro.
Taylor, did you have something you wanted to say?
Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Didn't you have something?
Why are we here?
Oh, Taylor.
Join in our conversation, Taylor. So what's like a mechanic in games that you like? We kind of just been shooting this idea around.
Is that what we've been doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you can take socks off of characters. That's what you like.
Tickle their little toes. It's everything I've ever wanted.
What does it mean? I ordered chicken wings from DoorDash last night from this place, and the top review was, it was like, what the F is this? I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but they were like, what the F is this? You gave me wings the size of toddler toes. And then I was like, man, somebody's not happy about their wings.
And you still ordered?
Not kidding.
Oh, really?
They were seriously like this big.
Dang.
You couldn't even dip them in the sauce because there wasn't enough meat to do that with. I was like, are these pigeons? Like what? Where did these come from?
You don't want to know.
Just
after reading the review
wings.
and you still ordered?
Yeah, I mean the 4.2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
there's always one.
They rated them 4.2.
I actually got the tenders. A friend got the wings.
Okay. Moral choices. And
again, that was my third one. Come on,
was it really?
Come on, man.
We can talk about it together.
Sure. We'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it. When you say moral decisions in games, what are you talking about?
No, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about moral decisions are kind of the crux of it, but I want social systems in my games that allow me to do branching storylines based on how my character behaves.
Same.
I want them to acknowledge that my character is a unique person who has their own opinions. And when I choose which dialogue option, and hopefully it doesn't say like, I can help, and then when you choose it, it's like, I'll kill you.
I'll help kill you.
If it's done well,
Right,
then
yeah.
I really like when games let me choose. I mean, I always choose good. I never choose bad. But I like the autonomy of being able to drive the story in different directions
Because of the choices that you've made.
because of the choices I've
I
made.
always choose good first,
Specifically social choices.
and then I go
Yeah.
chaotic evil just to see what will happen.
Yeah.
That tracks, yeah.
Baldur's Gate. Yeah. And I think that extends the life of the game because, well, depending on
Yeah.
how the game is structured, but
Baldur's Gate's probably the best example.
Oh, 100%. Baldur's Gate is an absolutely
Baldur's Gate
incredible
3
example.
specifically we're talking about.
Yeah.
yes. yeah.
When I think of Mortal Decisions, the first game I think of is Fable, actually, even though it
Yeah.
doesn't do the best job, but it's just like the first game that introduced it as a concept to me. And at the time, it did it well in my head. I was like,
It's
oh,
wild.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it lets you
looking
grow a
at it-
tree from a seed
No, it doesn't.
and then chop down that tree as your grandson
If they had
and
10
build a
more
tree
years.
with it.
Yeah.
Peter, I'll never forgive you.
Fable 2 would be coming out right now if it was up to him.
Yeah, I think you're probably. And it would be a game about a cube or some dumb garbage that doesn't make any sense. And the winner gets to go to real Fable Land.
Yeah.
We're going to upload your consciousness to the video game. What are you talking about? Just give me your money, please.
But I love that.
Is
But
there-
I do want the choices to not be so ambiguous to where Vampire actually does this.
I was
where-
going to bring up Vampire.
Yeah, where sometimes it's like you're given two choices, but the way they word it, you're not really sure which one you're actually choosing, and then you can choose the wrong choice. But the problem is the game auto saves, and there's no manual save,
that's
and you
awful.
can't go back. And
You
fix
can't
it.
save scum? Dude,
can't.
that would drive me crazy.
Yes. So I feel like if you do have to have that, you do have to be able to have manual saves. But I love being able to have character choices, and my character have a voice inside the game, and that dictates the future of the story. and where it
As an
progresses.
extension of that, I really like relationship building in games, which is obviously
too.
why I like the Persona games so
Yes.
much. It's
And
like
that's why I love Midnight Suns.
I hate Midnight Suns. I hate Midnight Suns for the reason because it's like, do you want to be good or evil? No, it's like, do you want to be like a nice guy or like a jerk? It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
well, I
yeah.
think I'd rather be a nice guy. Like,
Yeah.
what's the benefit?
Or do you want to have like,
Blade and Wolverine would like you more if you're
yeah,
a jerk.
who can
Oh,
you
that's
tell
the
a
thing. Is
dark
like
joke to?
Magic hated everything I would ever say because she's like, be a pessimist. And I'm
Right,
like-
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, man. I think I could save you from this
Yeah.
thing. And she's like, I don't like that. And I'm like, you know what? Just take this gift and give me the 50 points so that I can level your relationship up.
But no, yes.
She's like,
yeah,
I've never
agree.
agreed with
I
a
agree.
word this man has said, but he
Yeah.
did give me a cool book. So we're really good friends.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Let's go hang out in the hot tub together.
Yeah, you
It's like, what?
in
What
Midnight
does it mean?
Suns, you're a superhero.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you have a goal, and you can't change that goal.
Correct.
And
Yeah,
that's
I
I don't
agree.
like to have good and evil decisions in a game like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can have some narrative like discussion stuff, like personality stuff. That's
Yeah.
fine, and Midnight Suns does that, and they do a pretty good job.
I think Baldur's
But-
Gate 3
but Baldur's
is,
Gate is
almost the
Yes,
perfect
for
example.
sure. Yeah.
Is the
There are
perfect.
just so many branching decisions you can make.
Mm-hmm.
So like multiple endings to a game are super important to me
Yeah.
because if it all funnels back into some
same thing.
nonsense,
Yeah.
it's like what's the French guy that makes the games where it's all about, it's like Two Souls. He made Two Souls and he made the robot
Quantic
game.
Dream?
Quantic Dream is the studio. Yeah. All those games to me feel like such a promising concept that just completely falls flat on its
Correct.
face.
Yeah. Because no matter what you choose, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's really like it is. I feel like it's disingenuous about what it's offering you.
Yeah.
I don't really actually believe the hype So it's just a constant disappointment to me. Not to mention the writing in those games is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
The origami killer. Yeah.
I don't know what game you're talking about actually.
Three
Heavy
different
Rain.
games.
Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain is
Indigo
the
Prophecy or Fahrenheit.
Never played any 3 of those.
Heavy Rain is where you're trying to solve a murder, and you can
and
do
your
things
son
like
goes
brush your
missing or
teeth
something.
in the morning if you want.
Yeah.
Because that's how much player choice
With
you
the
have.
left and right trigger. Woo, because
Yeah,
that's
everything's
fun.
like a mini game
not fun.
where you. Yeah,
I won't be playing this game.
No, you won't.
you
Spoiler
shouldn't.
alert.
I don't think.
No.
Also, all the characters are from like Michigan or something, but they got Canadian voice actors and they don't know how to pronounce anything, and they say origami killer, and I laugh every time.
Instead of origami.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Beyond Two Souls, which who cares?
I'll put a clip in here of you looking for your son in a crowded mall where you press X to say Jason, but he says it like 3 different ways, and you have to keep. So it's like Jason, Jason,
Yeah.
Jason,
It's-
Jason.
How about Luigi's Mansion, where you get to say Mario?
Don't besmirch Luigi's Mansion by mentioning it in the same conversation. Luigi's my boy.
That's right. Ryan, what do you got?
Should I have time?
You have a
Yeah,
parting
4 minutes.
shot.
Go fast.
What was my last one?
Why are you looking at me? You never told me.
I had base building.
I had another one. I can't even remember what it was. I just lost my mind.
Oh, I like semi randomized loot drops. Talking Diablo, talking Borderlands.
You like a loot grind.
Yeah, I like Elden Ring and Dark Souls and all that stuff. There's a sword, you know where to get it.
That's interesting because a lot of people are getting fed up with loot games. Like I feel like I see a lot of pushback on games that have loot.
Just- It just depends on how they do it, but
So what is it you like?
like in the Souls games, there's a sword, you know where to get it. It's always the same sword every time you go. But
Yes.
and games like Borderlands, which I think does probably the best job of Borderlands 3 specifically, like you'll have a boss and you know they drop a certain weapon. There's a chance they drop it. It drops like variations of that weapon, and it allows you to learn how to beat a boss really well. But like so. You have to tackle bosses multiple times to get the perfect drop. And also, the guns drop at your level, so you come back later and get those guns.
Just wait like Monster Hunter.
I was literally about to say, like, I think that's part of the charm
Yeah.
of Monster Hunter is it has to be designed for it, but I like the idea of having to go back and get parts from the same
Yeah,
monster.
become efficient.
The idea of like hunting the same monster over and over again is not it doesn't discourage me from playing that game.
It's like in Dark Souls, you learn by beating a boss how to beat that boss by losing over and over again. And Monster Hunter, you learn by winning over and over again.
Yes.
And you just get better.
Because when you
like
beat the boss
that.
in Dark Souls, you have to start a new game or a new game plus to actually fight that boss again.
Right.
So it's like once you beat them, you've stopped learning how to beat that boss.
Yeah.
But the joy of like beating a boss and then all this loot flies out and you're like scrambling and then you have to like you're looking at stats and you have like all these different gear slots and then all these different weapons. You have like you can carry like 4 weapons in the Borderlands series. And Diablo, is it 4 is the new one? For all of its faults,
faults. Perfect game.
it does have pretty satisfying gameplay and fun loot to grab. But I think that's
if it's done well,
Yeah.
the cool thing about loot-based games is that it allows you a lot of personalization in how your character plays. Like that's the appeal to me of it. And not all games do that particularly well, but yeah, I think that's a huge draw and a huge replay value mark for me if they do loot well.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Psych, we
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for Sam Webster for letting us use his music.
Intro and outro music,
Killing it.
killing it as usual.
But he's also done more music than just our intro and outro.
No, he's only done 2 songs.
He's
and
only
we
done
used
2
both of them.
songs. Yeah, he did them for us specifically.
That's right.
Yeah.
Check us out on YouTube if you want to see clips of the games we're talking about. Check us out on any podcast platform. We're there. And check us out on TikTok and Blue Sky at Did I Save Podcast.
That's right.
Email us questions or leave them in the comments on the YouTube video. Did I Save Podcast at gmail.com.
And let us know what kind of game mechanics you like in your games. Something that draws you in.
Yeah, what's a
brings
mechanic
you in.
you just get locked into when you see it? You're like, I'm playing that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Is there something we need to let people know?
I can't ever remember.
All right. Don't forget to save.
Oh, yeah. That's
It's
what.
to save,
Don't
yeah,
forget. Don't
yeah.
forget to save.